Japan is a country that has charmed millions of visitors with its unique blend of ancient traditions, warm hospitality, and stunning natural beauty. However, beneath this inviting surface, there are several cultural norms that might catch newcomers off guard. If you're planning to visit, study, or conduct business in Japan, it's crucial to understand these customs to avoid any awkward situations or unintentional mistakes. Let's explore 15 important taboos in Japan that you should be aware of. Tattoos are often a no-go in public spaces. While tattoos are embraced as a form of art or personal expression in many parts of the world, Japan still holds a more conservative view on them. This is largely due to the historical connection between tattoos and the Yakuza, Japan's organized crime syndicate. As a result, tattoos carry a stigma, and many public places such as hot springs, onsens, gyms, swimming pools, and traditional inns prohibit individuals with visible tattoos from entering. Even a small, seemingly harmless tattoo can lead to being asked to cover it up. The origin of this perception traces back to the Edo period, where tattoos were used as punishment for criminals. Although younger generations in Japan are starting to view tattoos more positively, the stigma still exists in many traditional or older establishments. For tourists, it's a good idea to bring a cover-up or bandage to conceal tattoos when visiting public baths or other spaces where tattoos might be frowned upon. Tipping is a no-go. In many countries, tipping is considered a gesture of appreciation, but in Japan, it's quite the opposite. Tipping is not just unnecessary, it can be seen as rude or insulting. The Japanese believe that offering a tip implies the service provided was insufficient or that the server needs extra incentive to perform well. Instead, they pride themselves on providing top-tier service without expecting additional compensation. If you'd like to show gratitude, small gifts like origami or a simple thank you note are much more appropriate. In restaurants, cafes, and hotels, you might be surprised to see your tip politely declined. This ties into Japan's deep-rooted cultural value known as omotenashi, which translates to wholehearted hospitality. In Japanese culture, excellent service is already factored into the price of your meal or stay, so there's no need to tip. Keeping this in mind will help you navigate your travels in Japan with ease, showing respect for their customs. Overworking, a silent struggle. Japan is known for its hardworking culture, but this drive for success has a darker side. The phenomenon of karoshi, or death by overwork, has become an alarming issue, prompting the government to enforce laws aimed at reducing extreme working hours. Despite these laws, overworking continues to be a challenge in Japan, as many employees feel pressured to work long hours, sometimes at the cost of their health. The roots of this problem date back to Japan's post-World War II economic boom, where dedication and sacrifice were highly valued in the workplace. Even today, workers feel an unspoken expectation to stay late, putting in extra hours to show their commitment. Although there are initiatives to promote a healthier work-life balance, breaking free from this cultural norm remains difficult for many. Visitors may notice this, especially in larger cities where the fast-paced work environment is evident. Women restricted from certain sacred sites. While Japan is seen as a modern and forward-thinking nation, some ancient traditions still impose restrictions on women in sacred areas. For instance, places like Mount Omine and the sumo wrestling ring remain off-limits to women due to beliefs surrounding purity. Despite efforts towards gender equality, these practices persist in certain parts of Japan, showcasing the country's blend of modernity and deep-rooted customs. This exclusion is tied to historical Shinto and Buddhist beliefs that regarded women, especially during menstruation, as impure. On Mount Omine, a revered site for Shugendo followers, women have been banned for centuries, and this rule is still strictly enforced. Although the mountain is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it upholds its age-old tradition of barring women from entry. These cultural taboos continue to spark discussions within Japan, with some calling for reform, while others argue for preserving these practices as part of Japan's spiritual heritage. Superstitions around the numbers 4 and 9. In Japan, the numbers 4, shy, and 9, ku, are considered unlucky due to their association with death and suffering. Consequently, many buildings and elevators skip these numbers altogether, with the fourth floor often being replaced by 3A or other creative substitutes. Hotels and hospitals, in particular, avoid rooms with these numbers to prevent any unwanted bad luck from befalling their guests. This superstition runs deep in Japanese culture. For instance, some hospitals will also avoid using the number 42 in room numbers, as it sounds similar to shiny, which means to die. Likewise, the number 49 is avoided due to its resemblance to shiku, translating to pain until death. While this might seem like a minor detail to outsiders, it's something taken quite seriously in Japan. Visitors will likely notice these numbers missing in elevators or hotel rooms, reflecting the cultural weight these superstitions still carry. Gift-giving, a delicate art. In Japan, gift-giving is not a casual exchange but a thoughtful and ritualized tradition with around 70 occasions for gifting throughout the year. However, certain items are considered bad luck and should be avoided. For example, combs are a no-go because they sound similar to the words for suffering and death in Japanese. Sharp objects, or chrysanthemums, often associated with funerals, are also seen as inappropriate gifts. It's essential to be mindful of these cultural subtleties when giving gifts to friends or colleagues in Japan. When presenting a gift, wrapping it beautifully and offering it with both hands is a sign of respect. There's also an unspoken rule that gifts should be politely declined a couple of times before being accepted. Avoid giving sets of 4 items since the number 4 is associated with death. Mastering these nuances will ensure you're showing the right level of respect in this gift-giving culture. Sitting cross-legged is a faux pas. While sitting cross-legged might be casual in many places, in Japan, it's seen as improper, especially in formal or business settings. The preferred way to sit, especially during traditional ceremonies or meetings, is in the seiza position, where you kneel and tuck your legs beneath you. This posture is seen as more respectful and disciplined, particularly in situations that require formality. Sitting cross-legged can come across as too relaxed or even vulgar in Japan, especially when dealing with elders or in professional environments. Proper posture reflects good upbringing and respect for others, making it a crucial aspect of Japanese etiquette. Offering your seat to the elderly may be misinterpreted. In most countries, offering your seat to an elderly person is a kind gesture, but in Japan, it can sometimes come across as patronizing. Public transport has designated priority seating for the elderly, disabled, and pregnant women, and it's generally expected that younger passengers will stand. However, offering your seat in a non-priority area can make older passengers feel uncomfortable, as they may interpret it as a suggestion that they're frail or incapable. Japanese elders often value their independence, and overt gestures of help might seem intrusive. If you feel inclined to give up your seat, it's best to do so discreetly, by quietly standing and moving away, allowing the elderly person to take it without feeling like they are being singled out for assistance. Smoking outdoors is strictly prohibited. Japan enforces some of the world's toughest smoking laws, especially in outdoor public areas like streets, parks, and even busy urban spaces. Smoking in these areas is not allowed, and those who break the rule can face hefty fines. This outdoor ban is quite strict, but interestingly, smoking is still permitted in certain indoor areas like designated sections in restaurants, bars, and even some cafes. This can feel quite contradictory to many tourists, given the country's strict focus on reducing passive smoking outdoors. The law was implemented as part of a broader health initiative leading up to the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, aimed at minimizing secondhand smoke exposure. Designated smoking spots are scattered around public places, including train stations, and enclosed smoking booths are also available in some outdoor areas. However, it's essential to know that while smoking indoors is still allowed in some places, this is also being debated. As a visitor, you should always check for smoking zones to avoid fines and respect Japan's public health policies. Minimal physical contact. In Japanese culture, personal space is considered very important, and any physical touch, especially without consent, is generally discouraged. Even common greetings like handshakes are not the norm in Japan. Instead, people bow as a sign of respect. Additionally, public displays of affection, such as hugging or kissing, are quite rare and often considered inappropriate in formal or public settings. This cultural practice stems from the concept of ma, which means maintaining a respectful distance in both physical space and social interactions. In Japan, personal space reflects mutual respect, and unnecessary contact may be seen as impolite. If you're visiting Japan, it's important to understand these boundaries and avoid physical gestures that might make locals uncomfortable. Instead, a simple bow will go a long way in showing respect. Respect the rice. Rice is a sacred staple in Japanese meals, and there are specific customs surrounding its consumption. One of the most important rules is never to mix other foods into your rice bowl. Combining side dishes directly with rice is seen as a way to ruin the distinct flavors of both the rice and the accompanying dishes. Instead, each dish should be savored separately, which enhances the overall dining experience. This etiquette is deeply rooted in Japan's culinary respect for each ingredient and the craftsmanship behind every meal. Each dish is meticulously prepared to stand alone, and mixing foods together is considered disrespectful to the chef's efforts. When dining in Japan, keeping rice and side dishes separate shows your appreciation for the meal's quality and honors the traditions of Japanese cuisine. Always remove your shoes before entering a home. In Japan, removing your shoes before stepping inside a home is a long-standing tradition that continues to be strictly followed. This custom, which has been in place for thousands of years, is based on the desire to keep the home clean and maintain its sacredness. Many Japanese homes have tatami mats, which are delicate and easily damaged by the dirt and grime carried in on shoes from outside. Even in modern homes and buildings, this practice is widely respected. Tatami mats, made from woven straw, are soft but easily scuffed or stained by footwear. In addition to homes, you'll find this custom in traditional inns, some temples, and even certain restaurants. Visitors should always be ready to remove their shoes when entering these places and switch to indoor slippers if provided. Following this practice not only helps maintain cleanliness, but also shows respect for the culture. Avoid eating while walking. In Japan, eating while walking or using public transportation is considered impolite. This is because it's seen as disrespectful to others, particularly if the food has a strong smell or makes noise. Japanese people typically prefer to sit down and eat in one place, enjoying their meal without distractions. This cultural norm emphasizes mindfulness and respect for the shared space around them. Eating in public, especially while on the go, is believed to diminish the appreciation of food and can inconvenience others, a concept known as meiwaku, causing trouble or discomfort to others. As a visitor, it's a good idea to be mindful of this practice and avoid eating in transit, whether you're on a train or walking down a busy street, to show consideration for local customs. Avoid passing food with chopsticks. One of the most significant dining taboos in Japan involves passing food directly from one pair of chopsticks to another. This act is a reminder of a Buddhist funeral custom, where the bones of the deceased are passed between family members using chopsticks. Because of this association, passing food in this manner is considered extremely disrespectful at the dinner table. Similarly, placing chopsticks upright into a bowl of rice is seen as inappropriate, as it mimics incense offerings made during funerals. The meaning behind chopstick etiquette is deeply tied to Japanese rituals around death, so mishandling them can evoke uncomfortable associations with mourning. Visitors should familiarize themselves with these important customs to show respect and understanding during meals. Whistling at night is a superstition. In Japan, whistling at night is considered bad luck. Parents often warn children against it, telling them it might attract snakes, demons, or even thieves. Although rooted in ancient folklore, the superstition is still alive in modern Japan. particularly in rural areas where traditional beliefs hold more sway. While people today may not believe that whistling invites spirits, it remains a taboo associated with nighttime mischief. This belief, like many other superstitions in Japan, reflects the country's rich connection to folklore and the supernatural. While whistling might seem harmless, avoiding it at night is still a good idea to show respect for local customs, especially in more traditional regions. Japan is a mesmerizing blend of tradition and modernity, offering visitors an unforgettable experience filled with breathtaking sights, rich culture, and deeply rooted customs. To fully appreciate everything Japan has to offer, it's essential to be mindful of the cultural taboos that might not be immediately apparent to outsiders. By following these 15 guidelines, you'll not only show respect, but also deepen your understanding of the fascinating customs that shape Japanese society. If you're eager to learn more about unique cultures from around the world, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more exciting adventures and insights, and we'll see you on our next journey.